All right, welcome to our webinar, Home for the Holidays with Parent and Family Relations. My name is Christine Self, and I am with Parent and Family Relations, and just want to welcome you as we talk about the holidays. It's a time of big excitement for families to get to spend time with their students as they return home for first the short Thanksgiving break and then the longer winter break. And so we're going to be sharing some information based on the questions that you asked when you registered for the webinar. And also we have a special guest with us today, and we're going to do introductions here in just a moment. But as you're logging in, you're probably noticing this is very different from any other webinar that you may have attended with us. While yes, we will share our slides here in a moment and talk about some information, it's also just kind of a fun conversation. So on our screen right now, you see four of our staff and Tricia Simpson, who's coming to us from the Parent and Family Relations think tank. We're each going to introduce ourselves and share our favorite holiday tradition. And we invite you at this time to use the chat to share your favorite holiday tradition with us. And we'll talk about that as we go. So be thinking about what that is and what you'd like to share with the group. So I'll get started. Again, my name is Christine, and I am from Lubbock, Texas. I'm a second generation Red Raider, love working on campus. And my favorite holiday tradition sounds kind of funny, but it's on Thanksgiving Day. My husband and I like to turn on the Macy's Day Parade. It was really fun 2 years ago when the Texas Tech Band was marching in that parade. Come to think of it, we should have recorded it so we could just watch that version of it every year. And then following the parade, we turn on the American Kennel Club dog show. And not only do we like to watch it, but we have a cat who loves to watch the dog show. And so even if we are leaving for the day to go see family, we leave that on for her. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Connie.
Hey y'all, it's Connie. I have been here at Texas Tech now for 20 years in a variety of roles, and most recently here with Parent Family Relations, working with our colleges academically with family engagement. One of my favorite holiday traditions is usually starts at the end of October, right before Halloween. I start sending out stealth text messages with recipes of all kinds of variety of old vintage like a jello mold or aspic, just to mess with my kids about, hey, I'm fixing this for Thanksgiving. What are your thoughts? I found a lovely recipe this week. I'm excited. It's a Frankfurter loaf where they put hot dog weenies in bread and serve it as bread. It's really, really cool. So it's something new that we do, something fun that we do just to kind of get them in the mood for some fun and being at home where the fun began. So there you go. I'm going to turn it over to Morgan. Morgan, go ahead.
Hi, all. I'm Morgan Chavez Brannon. I have been with Parent and Family Relations for 8 years now, which is crazy to say. I've been here at the university for 11 years. And my favorite holiday traditions always happen in the kitchen. Normally, my family gets together and we make tamales together and bizcochitos, and those are the gifts that we give to our neighbors and other family members, just as like a way to celebrate just that community around the kitchen and sharing stories. And there's normally some Christmas movie in the background that's playing, and it's just so much fun and just so full of like love and joy. So that's what we do, and I am looking forward to doing that again this year. I'm going to pass it over to Brianna now.
Hi everyone, my name's Brianna Valdivia. I'm our event coordinator. I've been with our department for about 2 years now. I want to say one of my favorite holiday traditions, my favorite holiday is Christmas. So something that we've recently done is on November 1st, we put up our Christmas tree. I don't care how early it is. And we kind of go and pick a new theme for what we're doing and decorating our tree. I'm not allowed to start the Christmas movies until after Thanksgiving, but they are saved and ready to go. So that is something we will be doing as soon as the turkey is finished. we'll say. And I'm turning it over to Trisha.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tricia Simpson. My son Ben is a sophomore at Texas Tech. He loves it. My favorite holiday tradition was adopted from my husband's family. His mother is German, so they celebrate Christmas on Christmas Eve. And we have the same traditional meal. We have deli sandwiches people get to fix, eggs, champagne, just lots of nibbly things on the table for people while we open presents. But the most fun part is when the kids were little, there would be ringing bells outside that sounded like reindeer. So some adult would have to take the little kids out in the car and drive around for about 15 minutes while all the presents appeared under the tree as if by magic. So I'm kind of sad they're too old for that now, but we still do the Christmas Eve dinner and unwrapping presents together. And that's what I enjoy.
That dinner sounds amazing. I want to come spend Christmas
I want to
at
come to
your
yours
house.
too.
And that sounds really fun. All right. Well, I'm going to transition us and share our screen here so we can go over some of this information with you. So we have just done introductions. Hopefully everyone can see this screen. And to get us started, we asked folks, including many of you as you registered for this webinar, what concerns or questions do you have about your students coming home for the holidays? So we're going to get into some of this information. So one question we got a lot was about leaving the residence halls for Thanksgiving. So what do we know about that?
Well, Christine, students don't have to leave the dorms for Thanksgiving break. They can stay here right on campus if they choose. Obviously, we have our bus trip home, so there is opportunities for students to get home. However, some do choose to stay on campus. Maybe they have a job, maybe they're preparing for finals, whatever that might be. The thing to remember is that dining and campus services will operate with limited hours. And they'll also have to complete a short online form so staff knows who's in the building, where they are in the building, and to make sure that they are safe and we keep them secure while they're here in our fair city during the holiday.
All right, so no, they don't actually have to leave. And just as a reminder, the mention of the form, we will follow up with you with the link to this recording, as well as the links to forums and websites and things that we talk about during our time together. All right, so what about winter break? When do students leave for winter break? And so basically this can vary based on when the student is taking their final exams. So final exams run December 5th through 10th, and the residence halls officially close on Thursday, December 11th at 10 a.m. So students do need to be out of the residence halls by that time. There is an exception for students who are graduating this semester. So they have a little bit more time to attend commencement and get their things moved out if they're living on campus. So again, students need to check out within 24 hours after their last exam. And just remembering that residence halls reopen on Sunday, January 11th at 10 a.m. for the spring semester. Your student should know their final schedule. This is published on the Texas Tech website. And again, we'll follow up with links. They also may see their final exam in their syllabus. If they don't know when their final exams are, they need to make sure that they find out. It is not necessarily when their class meets. So your student should know that information. We have gotten some questions about, are there going to be any anticipated changes to our final exam schedule in the event that Texas Tech football goes to the Big 12 championship? I know that those conversations are happening, and as soon as we know anything about that, we would share it with you. So just know that there are conversations on campus happening about any changes to the final schedule regarding the Big 12 football championship, which we all hope that Texas Tech goes to, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what about moving stuff out during winter break?
All right. So the good news is you do not have to worry about them moving everything out for winter break. If your student is returning in the spring semester, they can leave their belongings. Things that we highly recommend, making sure that they bring home any of their valuables. They will get a list from housing that gives them these reminders about like making sure you unplug appliances, make sure you dispose of any perishable items. Don't leave your fish behind, like your fish in its fish tank. Make sure you bring that home. If your student decided that that was what they were going to bring into the residence hall. Don't leave your plant babies behind. Those are all important things to take home for the break. But the big items they can leave unless they've got really like that one special sweatshirt that they really got to take home with them. If your student is not returning in January, then they will have a complete checkout and return their key before they move out. But again, housing has that list of who's supposed to be staying when, and so they should also be receiving communication about that.
And speaking of, even though the student does not have, students don't stay on campus during the winter break, and you don't have to move everything out. Just again, taking those valuables home is really important. That being said, there is security that monitors our halls during the winter break. And so, we have these halls are locked, they're secured. Only students and staff with access can enter these halls. Staff complete safety and facility checks throughout this time. So know that these places are secure during the break. But just again, a reminder, take those valuables home. I do not leave them there. All right, what about when they come back? Are they going to be in the same room? That was a question that we received as well.
Yes, so they will,
on
students returning for the spring semester will remain in the same room with their same roommate. If for some reason they've requested a change, that'll need to go through university student housing. But if they've made no request or anything like that, they will be coming back to that same room and have the same roommate.
Wonderful. All right, let's talk about food. That's an important part of the holidays, right? So what's going on with food options?
Favorite part of the holidays is food. So during Thanksgiving, there will be some like retail and grab and go spots that will remain open with very limited hours. Hospitality will update their actual schedule and what's available closer to when students are departing, typically departing for Thanksgiving break. So that might not be reflected on their website today, but it will be up before they depart. And then also during winter break, let's say your student lives on campus and or works on campus and they're staying for their job. Most dining locations will be closed, especially the ones in the residence halls, because we don't have students staying in the residence halls typically during the winter break. So if they are working on campus, they should be prepared for those reduced options. Again, hospitality will update their dining hours page closer to that time, and it will reflect the exact hours that various locations will be open throughout the entire break.
Wonderful. We get lots of questions about transportation. So what does that look like?
Well, transportation can be tricky sometimes, especially in today's world, but we're all very happy to know that we can get there eventually. Once the final exam dates are set, it was, as we've already discussed, students are able to leave once they have completed all their final exams. So whether that be by car, train, plane, automobile, love that movie, by the way, it's one of my traditions. However, there is no university shuttle to and from the Lubbock Preston Smith International Airport here in Lubbock. They can Uber, they can ride with a friend, do ride shares. We suggest they kind of make those reservations for those probably earlier rather than later, especially if they know when their flights are. I might also add that the students who have registered cars here, if they want to leave it here, if they are flying back or riding with a friend, they need to make sure that they have removed all of their valuables and have double checked their registration for being in the lot. It will be monitored. However, we want to make sure that they've gotten all their valuables out of that. Now at Thanksgiving, it's the same thing. Again, we've already talked about bus trips home, but they will have to use Uber or other ride shares to get to the airport if that's how they're going to get home this semester.
Wonderful. All right. So in the chat, we would love to hear from you. Now, nobody shared their favorite holiday tradition, so we're going to pick on you again. What is something that you are most looking forward to about the holidays? And I will share what I'm most looking forward to, and that is really having some time to reflect and relax a little bit. Spend some time with family. I have family who lives here in Lubbock and in nearby areas, but I don't get to see them a lot because we're all so busy. And so having that time to relax and reflect every year, I think is really important. So I'm looking forward to that. Anyone else on our panel or in the chat want to share? Oh, I see playing board games and games with family. That's awesome. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Aside from the baking and the cooking traditions, I also just look forward to, the random, little things that I see along the way that I get to give to the people that I love the most. It's not necessarily all big crazy things, but I actually love shopping for presents for people and being able to take those and just be like, this like stuck out to me. It's not practical. It just made me think of you. So I always look forward to like giving people like the little things that I found along the way for them.
Anyone else want to share?
Well, I can add to Morgan. I do the shopping and the wrapping, and I always forget immediately what I've done. So it's like a surprise again on Christmas morning when people are opening their presents because I forgot what I bought and what I wrapped. It's great.
I love that. My very first job was wrapping gifts.
Same.
And was it really? It's funny the
Yep,
things
I
you
loved
learn
it.
about people. And then my mother loved that because she would have me wrap all the family's gifts,
Mm-hmm.
including my own. She
Mm-hmm.
would tape the box up and I'd have to wrap it. So anyway. All right, wearing fun Christmas PJs. That sounds like fun too. It sounds like Erica has a great time with her family playing board games and wearing fun PJs. That sounds great. All right. Well, once again, we asked our parents and families who are registered for the webinar, what are some concerns or challenges that people may have? And so one thing that we've heard from both students and from families, something to think about, trying to manage those expectations and perhaps disappointment about time spent with family versus time spent with friends is something to talk about with your students. So, your student, if especially if you're here and your student is a first semester student, it's been a big transition for them. They miss their family. They also miss their friends from back home. So it's normal for students to divide that time between home and social circles. So, just giving some thought before they come home for Thanksgiving, which is a good dry run for what winter break is going to look like. Think about what's most important to you. What are the must not miss family events, and also balancing that with your students' needs. That having that flexibility is going to make both you and your student feel supported and respected. And so I wanted to invite Tricia to share any experiences that you've had with your student about coming home for the holidays and time with friends and family.
So Ben's obviously his first year was last year. He has a very close friend group here in Durango who all went off to several went to Texas Tech, but a number of them went to different schools. So they were really excited to see each other, particularly at Thanksgiving, because it's the first time they'd been home since everybody left in August. And I think they're in, text chains and Snapchats together, but the first time they saw each other face to face. It's also a short trip, I'm not breaking news here. So packing everything into a few days and a quick turnaround is just a lot. So I think the answer was we just had a conversation at the beginning about when family activities were planned, when he could be helpful, and then kind of left it to him after that. And it worked out. It worked. And there was a lot of sleeping. Honestly, I think there was a lot of sleeping just because of not being in a dorm, which I think that's the other thing we forgot to mention. A dorm situation, you probably don't get all your best sleep. So when they get home, they really like to make up for that in their own bed. So it seemed to work out fine.
Well, and that's kind of the next point on the slide that you see here, trying to balance, wanting to fit it all in, cook all the favorite foods, do all the favorite traditions, but also recognizing that students' need for downtime. So I think that's really important. All right. So some of us are in a position where their student doesn't want to come home, or maybe for some reason they can't. And so what is that like?
Christine, I got to thinking about this question because I remembered when we were doing this, when we were preparing for this, Preston, my second son, who he didn't go to Tech, he was out of state, but he had responsibilities during the winter break through his scholarship. I take that back, it was for Thanksgiving, sorry. For his scholarship and things of that nature. So he had to stay in Tennessee on campus during that Thanksgiving break as a first-year student. Very, very concerning for mom and dad, of course, back here in Texas, but he had a responsibility to do some singing. He's a vocal performer. He was a vocal performance major. So he had to stay there. There was nothing he could do. But the university, because they required it, did provide him with meals. He didn't have to stay in the dorm. He stayed away, but it still didn't make it right for me. So when he did come home for winter break, it was a lot more special. But sometimes they don't. They don't want to come home for whatever reason. They've maybe gotten into a relationship here that they don't want to leave. Maybe they found a friend group, then their other friends are having to stay, so they don't want to leave that person alone. I think sometimes when they move out of the dorms and they have their own apartments, of course, they've got a place to be. They may come home for 3 days for Christmas or winter break and then come right back. I think it's one of those things that when you think about jobs or they're preparing for their final semester. Maybe they're going to graduate in May and they've got some big projects that they need to work on during the Christmas break, and they need, to have some solitude to be able to get those done. I think those are all valid and relevant. And being understanding of that rather than being frustrated, well, you never come see me, you don't come home, trying to hear what they're trying to say. It is a time for them to start growing and emerging as the adults that they are. And so this may be the first time that they've said, hey, I really need to stay in Lubbock. I can't come home this semester or this winter break, but I'll come in at Easter or I'll be home at spring break. Then maybe there's a compromise somewhere along the road. The other thing is if you've spent a lot of time in Lubbock and you've come to visit a lot, they may not feel that need to come home. I don't know that that's necessarily the case, but it could be something that if you've been here a lot, they may not have that same pull for home. I think you can stay connected. I think you can do FaceTime. I think you can send them great little memes, send them a special little Christmas gift or something like that. But I do feel that it's healthy, even though it might be a little hurtful as a parent. I know when they don't want to come to see me in Lubbock. My kids are all grown, but they can't come see me at Christmas. We've been doing this for 20 years. I got upset the first couple of years, and then I realized, they're getting their own families, they have their own children, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's just part of growing in our transition as parents, I think. Tricia, you may have something to add to that. I don't know.
Well, I think, yes, all your points are perfect. And the other thing is, it occurred to me, when I was in college, just by circumstance, I was, we had a deal. I needed to earn, we all need, my brother and sister and I needed to earn, money to contribute to our education. My job was where I went to school. So as I was reading the slide, I thought, my job was where I was. I could come home a little bit. I just happened to live about an hour away from home in Southern California, or from school. But the thought was not, I don't want to go home. I don't want to see my parents. It was more, these are the responsibilities that I've created here. So I have to stay here and do my job because that's what I signed up to do. So I think that's another part of it is, my son and his friends, they all had jobs when they were in high school. And fortunately, they were able to, I think all of them went back and worked for the month that they were home, which was nice for pocket money. But sometimes it's just circumstance that changes the equation, and it has nothing to do with the parents and everything to do with the life that they're creating for themselves.
That's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up because that's so true. Yeah, it's not that they don't want to come home. It's just
Nope.
they've got,
Shorter periods of time, and then it's maybe even more special.
yeah, yeah.
We did get a question in the chat about concerns about, flights being canceled and different things going on, and just making sure to stay connected with what's going on with the airport here in Lubbock. So yes, should you be concerned about that? Perhaps. So this is a fluid situation. I just returned from traveling and did not have any issues, but it's certainly something to keep an eye on. If possible, have a backup plan. Thanksgiving is a quick turnaround. So if there are flight cancellations, it might be very difficult to find another flight. As we mentioned, we do have bus trips home for students. There are still a few seats left on some of those trips. So if you're interested in that, that might be something to look into. But those trips leave on the Wednesday prior to Thanksgiving. So you would need to know ahead of time if you were able to purchase one of those. So this is definitely something to keep an eye on. And all of our staff are keeping an eye on it too, because some of us are headed to a conference this weekend. So we're all definitely interested in this subject. So good question. I wish I had more answers. All right. Another question or concern that we got was again about planning family events. What does that look like?
Yeah, so this ties already back into some stuff that we've talked about, but students have already shared, and they probably have told you, like, they're tired, like they're doing their finals projects, or they're in the throes of those last projects. And they might want to, just relax, readjust to being at home, different sleep schedule entirely. Definitely highly recommend, making those adjustments. And, something that I have learned in the last few years of my adult life, that I wish I had known when I was an undergrad, is that, like, family traditions can change and grow with you as your entire family changes and grows. Connie even mentioned, like, her kids, like, going off, and now they've got their own, like, smaller family unit traditions. And it's okay to go through that transition phase with your student now. Very similar personal experience. I had an on-campus and an in-town job at a toy store my very first semester here. Guess who didn't go home until Christmas Eve? Me. I was wrapping presents all the way up until the 23rd of December. And so going home, it was like, what my parents actually asked me, what are the traditions? What are the family events that you want to do while you're here? And so getting to have a say and being like, I really want to make sure that we drive around on Christmas Eve and see the luminarias everywhere in this city. I want to make sure we go to the neighbor's holiday party, or, I want to make sure that we're making whatever it is the day after Thanksgiving. Like, those were the things that we talked about. So talk about early to them what your hopes are, and then see what their goals are. What is it that's super cherished to them that they want to make time for, and then the other things can come and go. And I don't know if Trisha might have some additional insight on that. I know you already gave some.
No, you're exactly right. That's exactly what I was thinking, and you're exactly right. I think that, everyone's circumstance is going to be different, and I think we're all agreeing just to ask and keep expectations reasonable. And I think sometimes the holidays are fraught with expectations regardless of whether you have a student coming home, because it's a big event. And that may contribute to, either the disappointment or the excitement if things don't go exactly the way you're hoping they will. So I would just add that to the whole discussion.
Yeah. And thinking about how this, like, kind of leads into the next question that we had, that was submitted. What if my student is struggling, or doesn't really know how to mingle during downtime? What if they maybe have grown away from friends at home, or they just don't because of their personal schedule between the family plans and how much time they do get to be home for the holidays? are they going to have time to connect? I know my first couple of years during undergrad, going home and visiting for the holidays, I would text my friends and be like, here's my here's what I know I'm doing with my family. Can we grab coffee? Like that was it. We didn't even get to do our normal hangouts that we used to do when we were younger. It was simply, again, things change over time. My parents did encourage me to reconnect with friends. They knew how important that was. And so that's really something to encourage your students to do when they come home. You know, make sure that they still feel those connections to home, because that's part of the beauty of the holidays, and just being able to have that grounded feeling that's not at Texas Tech.
All right. Well, we are about at time, but we'd still love to have answer any questions that you might still have about Home for the Holidays or any other comments. By any chance, do you all have a list of off-campus housing? Yes, there is a website that if someone can find that and put in the chat, otherwise we can follow up with the follow-up email with it. But yes, there is a oh, and it's okay if it's off topic. We're flexible. There is a Texas Tech website that lists off-campus properties that you can look through. It's funny, I was talking with someone on the phone about that earlier today. So yeah, that's a hot topic right now. Any other questions that you all may have? While you're thinking, I'm going to put up our contact slide here with our survey link. We'd love to hear how we did today. Looks like we got that off-campus thing in there for you. And we just wish that you and your students have a wonderful holiday season, both for the short Thanksgiving break, fingers crossed for everyone's flights to get home safely, and then also for the longer winter break. But we're all here for you. If you have any questions or need anything, please reach out. Thank you all so much. And thank you, Tricia, for joining us today from our think tank. We were super happy to have you on board.
Thank you for asking me.
All right, everyone have a great day.
Bye.